Welcome back to the channel, and today we're going to install our bat guard on the front of our trailer. So I've taken the part out of the mold, I've got a table set up, and I've got it marked where I want to trim down the edge. Once we get that on, then we've got some U-trim that we're going to be putting on our part, and then we've got a stainless steel hinge that we need to get cut, fit on the trailer, and then we can attach the stone guard on the front. Then we can worry about the struts once everything's in place. Open it, make sure it stays in place. And we're almost there. So let me give you a shot of what we're doing, what I'm using, and we'll get going. So my stone guard's on the table, and I went around with some tape to mark exactly where or how far down I want to come with my sander, and I'm going to trim that nice and flat across there, and our U-trim will go over top of that and beauty it up a little bit. And for that, I've got a Porter cable. It's a cordless sander, and I'm using 40 grit sandpaper, and that will knock it down nice and clean. It shouldn't take too long, and just take my time and make sure I've got a nice flat straight edge all the way around, and then we get our trim on. So let's go ahead and get that sanded down. Now we have our edge nice and trimmed all the way around, and looking good. Next step is to install a hinge, but before we do that, I want to make sure and get the right length. So I brought it over to this corner right here, and I think that's where I'm going to put this one. Then I'm going to come over, and I'm seeing this hole, and I'm thinking I'm going to cut the hinge about right here somewhere, and then that'll give me my length that I need. Once I get that marked, then we can put our U-trim on. So I just use a jigsaw, cut the hinge, and then I set it in place, mark from the edge, and make sure the distance is the same from both sides. Made a mark, and that's where my U-trim is going to start. I'll put that all the way around, and then we'll stop right here. So our hinge will fit right in between the U-trim. So let's get that trim on, then we can get the hinge installed under the trailer. So for the trim, I purchased off of Amazon, and it was inexpensive. But that is the type of trim that we're going to be using. And so it's got a couple of locking ears on here, and that's just going to slip over the edge, and with any luck it stays in place and holds very well. So it's fairly thin, and that'll fit our part. The part's not too thick, so that should go around. Pretty simple. So let's get that installed. So to get this installed, all we're going to do is just go ahead and line it up with our mark, push it down over the edge. Nice. And then we'll get that down all the way around. That way when the guard is closed, it doesn't chafe up the aluminum. And if you need a little assistance, get yourself a rubber mallet and tap that on there. But that's how it's going to go, and I think it's going to look pretty sweet. And here is our stone guard with our trim on. So that cleaned it up nice, and the hinge is setting in place. So we've got the U-trim but against the hinge, both sides. So our next step. Alright, so we're going to find the center for our hinge, for our placement. We'll get the holes marked, we'll get those pre-drilled, and how I'm going to find the center is I'm just going to go from the edge of the frame to the edge of the frame, make a mark, put my straight edge on there, and that'll tell me where the center of my hinge is. I can put it in place, tape it up there, and mark my holes. We'll get that pre-drilled, then we can take the hinge, we'll go ahead and install it on the stone guard. Once that's installed, then we can come out, put our putty tape up, and fasten it to the trailer. We're almost there. And we're just going to set it up here like so. So I'm using a self-centering for the hinges. It's a number 10. The screws that I'll be using is a number 12. So we'll, if anything, At least all my screws will be in a straight line. Now we can take this off. We put it on their bat guard and get it fastened on there. Then we can just put it up here. Putty tape will be there, and we can just run our screws in. So to attach the hinge to the guard, I'm using number 6 stainless steel Phillips head. I think those are like a 32nd thread. I'm going to use a nylon locking nut and a fender washer behind there to hold it along. There's 21 screws that's going to be holding this on, so I don't think it's going to go anywhere. So we're going to pre-drill our hole, and then we'll run our screws in, and then once we get all the holes drilled, then we'll turn it over and attach these. Simple as that. So with the hinge attached, all of our bolts sticking through, now we can put a washer on each one, and that'll keep everything from ripping out. So then we take our 5/16 wrench, take our drill, slow setting, and just set that on there and drive these home. We don't have to over tighten them. And that is that. So with the help of my lovely assistant, we're going to install this on the trailer. So I've got the hinge installed, I've got my putty tape on, got my holes pre-drilled, and I've got to start at one screw, so we'll get that in there, go to the other side, get it locked down, and then we'll just put the rest of the screws in. Couple of struts that we'll put out here on the side, so when we open it up it'll lock it in place. And then I've got a couple of latches that we'll probably put here on the bottom, keep it in place going down the road. There it is. So our next task will be to add the struts here on each side, and that'll lock it open when we open it up and let some air through. Right now it's facing the sun, so I'm pretty sure it's going to keep it nice and cool. Alright, now it's time to install our supports for our awning. So I guess the hardest part for me is figure out where I want to put this thing. So two ways I can do the supports is I can install it down here, connect it here, but when I raise it, it's only going to raise to about that far. If I install it up here and attach it like this, then I'll be able to open the window about that far, which I think is going to be okay. I don't need it up 90 degrees. At this angle, I'm still able to sit at my table, look out, and watch the sunset or the ocean. And also, if it's up at this angle here, if it's raining, then any water that gets on top will drain off and not pool in there and add weight on it. So I think that's how I'm going to do it. We're going to install it just like this and attach it to the side, and we'll call it good. So let me give you a shot of the supports that we're using, and then we'll get ready to install it. So the supports I have are stainless steel, and I think closed, they're probably about 10 inches, and once they're open, then they extend out quite a ways. Now, it took a little time to find these. These are actually window supports, or for marine. So this is what you would find on sailboats and things like that. So stainless steel is a plus, and they're also heavy duty. So the rock guard itself weighs 13.3 pounds, which is not too heavy considering the size of it. And I think these supports are going to work well. So we're going to attach them here on the side, and then we'll attach them here on the side of the rock guard and get those bolted on, screw fastened here, and that should do the little trick. I think that's going to work. Let's get the other side on. Alright, now we have both supports installed, so let's give it a try. I think that's going to work great. Yep. So I'll be able to open my window with ease, still be able to look out, be protected from the rain. I think it's looking good. Alright, obviously two-handed job. We'll open this up as far as it'll go, turn our knobs, lock that in place. The other side, get our knob locked in place. There we go. And I'm able to open my window, and from inside I'll be able to see out and still enjoy the scenery. So that is that looks pretty cool. So I think for me that opens that'll open far enough, and any rain that comes down or snow will run off the front. So there we go. That's what it looks like, and it works great. So let me show you what we're going to do next. So the next thing we're going to install is a drip rail around the top, and this is a sort of a plastic rubber with a 3M adhesive on the back, and it's meant for RVs going around windows and the top edge of a trailer as a drip edge. So where we're going to put that is right around the top of our corner, and across the top and down to the side. So we're going to be stopping about right here on each side. That way any water that runs off the roof is not going to run into the seam of the hinge, and hopefully it'll run down and miss our strut here, which I'm not too worried about, but it'll give it a nice edge and water will just bypass that. So let's get that installed. Now, like most things on this build, I've never used this before, so this will be the first time I've used it, and if it doesn't work out, I'm not worried. I'll end up putting a metal jip rail across the top if this doesn't work. So I'm going to start by peeling the backing tape off the rail here, and then we'll start working it around. Okay, so I have a line that's marked around about the width, same width from the top of the hinge all the way around. So I'm just going to follow that mark. We'll see how well it sticks. Well, it seems to be sticking all right. Now I'll just follow that all the way across, make the bend on the other side, and I think we can call that good. I'll give you a shot of it when we're finished. Okay, so there is the shot of the drip rail on, and I think it's gonna work okay. It's stuck pretty good, and it bends really easy, and it's nice and straight. So I think that is the ticket. So the idea is when the water runs off the roof, it won't run straight down in behind the guard. It'll catch in the drip rail, come down, and run off the side, and hopefully the inside stays nice and dry. Alright, well, I'm happy with that. That looks good. And I just cleaned everything off with water, took some mineral spirits, wiped everything down, make sure it's dry and clean, and pressed it in place, and seems to be holding fairly well. I won't know until it's been out in the weather for a little while, and right now it's facing the sun in the evening, so hey, about a week of that, that'll tell me if this stuff is any good. So if this doesn't work out, next step, take it off. We'll just put an aluminum J rail across the top, keep the water from running down, and that should work. And with the bat guard open, fully open, we miss it by a good ½ inch, so I think that's going to serve us well. So that works out really good. Cool. So the sun is going down on us, and we're pretty close to wrapping this video up. But there is one more thing that I need to install on here before I can call this totally finished. While I have the guard with the supports on, I've got the rain guard on, rain gutter, drip rail, and everything's locked in place, it still has a little play to it. So what I don't want is driving down the road, the wind catch that, lift it up and rip everything off. So I do have, from an old project about 8 years ago, some stainless steel hasps, and I'm going to install these on the bottom just like that, and that's going to lock in place like this, and I'm able to lock that closed or put a clip on it, carbiner, and just keep it latched, so when I'm going down the road, this thing hasn't got a tendency to fly up and rip off. So that will be what I will do throughout the week. So the next time you see the video, these will be on, and it'll be done. So we're going to call that a wrap for this video. Showed you how to make it, how to pull it, how to clean it, how to install it, and it's looking good. You won't find these in a store anywhere. So my next video, I would like to talk about the cost. So if you want to hang around for that, I'll talk about every piece that I purchased and the do's and don'ts, what I learned along the way, and what you can prevent or actually do a little bit better than I did. Some of the materials and where you can save some money. So with that, I'd like to say thanks for watching, staying tuned, and hey, hope you enjoyed watching the video. Make your own. This is easy. You can create this, and it'll protect the front of your trailer, protect that window, and also when it's closed, and it stays cooler inside, because when it's open or when this was off, you get that evening sun in here, it turns like an oven. And not only that, but the windows are tinted, but you know, you're still going to get the UV rays in, and it'll deteriorate your curtains and anything else in there, discolor them. So this offers a lot of protection, not only just for the glass, but for the inside and your investment. So it was well worth the little bit of cost that I put into it, a little bit of labor. Elbow grease never hurt anybody. Besides, idle hands does the devil's work. So there you go. That's how we made this puppy. So until next video, stay tuned.